If you're getting ready to move, there's something you need to know before you pack a single box. Because there's one thing that most people pack that ends up costing them hours later. And the tricky part is that it doesn't feel like a mistake when you're doing it. It actually feels like you're being productive. But it's one of the biggest reasons that people feel overwhelmed during and after a move. So before you start packing, I want to show you what it is and what to do instead. If we're meeting for the first time, my name is Sheila, and I take all the guesswork out of decluttering, downsizing, packing, and moving. Because if you're anything like most of the people that I work with, you already feel that pressure building. You're looking around your home and you're seeing everything that needs to be done and thinking, how am I ever going to get through all of this? And when that feeling starts to kick in, it makes sense that your instinct is to move faster, to just start putting things in boxes, just so you can feel like you're making progress. But what you don't want to pack is clutter. Not just obvious clutter. I'm talking about all the things that you haven't already decided about, the things that you're unsure about, the things that you keep picking up and putting back down, and that you tell yourself, I'll deal with this later. This might look like a drawer full of random cords that you've been meaning to go through, or clothes in your closet that you're no longer wearing, or a stack of papers that keeps getting moved from one place to another in your house. What most people do when they're getting ready to move is they start packing quickly. They look around and they see how much there is to do and they think, I just need to get all of this stuff into boxes so I can get everything from A to B. So they start packing everything. But what they're really doing is packing decisions that they haven't made yet. And it usually doesn't look dramatic in the moment. It looks like picking something up and hesitating for just a second and then putting that thing in the box anyway. Not because you're sure you want to keep it, but because you don't have the time or the energy to decide right now. So you tell yourself, I'm just going to figure this out later. And if you've ever moved before, you might already know how this plays out. You get to your new home, you open a box, and instead of feeling settled, you feel stuck. Because now you have to decide what to do with all of this stuff that you packed without thinking it through. So instead of dealing with it once, you've now ended up dealing with it multiple times. You handled it when you packed it, you handled it when you put it on the truck, when you took it off the truck, when you unpacked it, and then you have to handle it again when it's time to finally decide what to do with it. And that is where a lot of time and energy goes. And I want to give you a real life example of what this can look like. No shame here, but this is one of the reasons why we decide before we pack. I was helping a family member move once, and in the process of emptying the attic, we came across boxes that were still unpacked from 2 moves ago. So the family had lived in their current house for 16 years, and in the house before that for 12. That meant that these boxes had not been touched or opened in 28 years. They'd just been moved from house to house. So when we finally took them out of the attic and opened them, what we found were things like canceled checks from the 1970s, gas receipts from decades ago, and crumpled up notebook paper, and a few towels that had disintegrated into almost nothing. There was nothing in those boxes that had any real meaning or purpose. They were just full of things that had never been decided about. But they had been taking up space, literal real estate, in home after home. Now the good news is that by making a decision before loading the truck this time, they were able to finally let all of that stuff go. And they were finally free from the weight of those boxes that they didn't even realize were still a part of their lives. And clutter is often like that. It can be quiet and sneaky, easy to overlook. It doesn't always announce itself. But when you finally let it go, you realize how much space and time and energy it was taking up all along. And that's why moving can sometimes feel overwhelming, because it's not just about physical work. It's also about all of the mental and emotional load of those delayed decisions. It's opening box after box and realizing, I still have to figure out what to do with this stuff. And it's not because you're doing anything wrong. It's because no one ever told you that packing is not the first step to moving. And there's a reason that no one talks about this. It's because packing is the visible part. It's what we see, and it's what feels like progress. But the deciding part is quieter. And it takes more time, and it doesn't always feel productive in the moment, even though it's the part that actually makes everything else, including packing, easier. So the real work of moving isn't packing, it's deciding. Deciding what deserves to come with you into your next chapter and what is staying behind. And once those decisions are made, packing becomes so much easier and faster and calmer, more straightforward. But when those decisions aren't made first, packing feels overwhelming. Part of it is that you're packing more stuff because you haven't made decisions yet. And also it is emotionally, physically, and mentally exhausting. So instead of thinking, I need to start packing, I challenge you instead to think, I need to start deciding. And I'm going to give you a really simple way to do that. Nothing complicated or overwhelming here, just a gentle structure to help you move forward. When you're going through your things, you can think about them in 3 simple categories. keep, let go, and decide later. Now that last category is important, but it needs to stay small, because if everything becomes decide later, then you're right back where you started. So the reason that we have the decide later category is to keep you from getting stuck on the things that are not really obvious as to whether you want to keep them or let them go. The best way that I've found to start deciding before you pack is to use what I call the keep first rule. It's where you choose one drawer or one shelf or one closet, you pull everything out of it, put it in a pile, and then you ask yourself, if I could only bring a few special items with me out of this pile, what would I keep? This method does a couple of things for you. Number one, it allows your brain to focus on positivity. So instead of focusing on what you're letting go of, you're focusing on what you get to keep. And that's a very different feeling. Number two, it gently nudges you toward identifying what your priorities are. What do you really love? What's really important to you? What would you be lost without? I've used this keep first rule in my own life during a really uncertain season when my husband lost his job several years ago. We were living in a big house that we thought we were going to stay in forever, and we had 5 young kids. We didn't know when or where we were moving. We just had a feeling that we were going to need to downsize our lifestyle. So I went through the entire house, one small section at a time, using this approach. I would pull everything out of one drawer or one cabinet or one shelf, make the pile, and ask myself, if we had to move and live in a smaller space, what would I absolutely want to keep? And what that did for me was that it took something that felt overwhelming and it made it feel manageable. It gave me a place to start. This rule is also really helpful for children because it allows them to focus on choosing their favorite, most special things that they want to keep instead of focusing on things that they might have to leave behind. Keep in mind that you don't have to get every decision perfect. You're not trying to make the best decision you've ever made about every single item in your home. You're just trying to make a good, honest decision for where you are right now. And that's enough. So as you move through a space, you're not packing yet, you're just deciding what's coming with me and what is not. This thing is coming with me, this thing is not, and this thing, well, I'm not sure yet, so I'm going to set it to the side for now, but I will come back to it later. What you'll start to notice is that most of your things are actually easier to decide than you thought. It's just that when you try to decide and pack at the same time, it feels like too much all at once. That is too much to ask of your brain. If you've gotten any value out of this video so far, it would mean the world to me if you would hit that subscribe button so that I can reach more people and help more people. Thank you so much. Let's keep going. Here's the part that I find that really helps people breathe a little bit easier. You don't have to do everything in one day, and you don't have to figure out your entire house all at once. You're just making one small set of decisions at a time. One drawer, one shelf, one corner, that's it. And when you approach it this way, it all starts to feel more manageable. One small decision at a time is what will create momentum without the overwhelm. And once you've made those decisions, then you pack the stuff that you're keeping. You let go of the things that you've decided not to keep. Only the things that you've already decided to keep are the things that go in the box. So when you do that, everything changes because now you're not packing all of those decisions. You're packing only the things that you're sure about. You're packing the things that you've already chosen. And the real power of this plan is when it comes to getting to your new home. Because instead of opening boxes and feeling overwhelmed, you open a box and you think, I know exactly what this is, I know why I brought this, and I know where it belongs. And that's how you start to feel more settled faster. This is the part that most people don't understand until they experience it. When you take the time to decide first and then pack, you don't just save time on the packing, you change how the entire move feels. It all feels lighter and more intentional and more peaceful because you're not just opening a box and bracing yourself anymore. You're opening it with a sense of calm because you already know what's inside and why it matters to you. Because you're not just moving your things, you're moving forward with your life and deciding what's coming with you. And if you're someone who's been feeling stuck or putting things off because it all just feels like too much, give yourself permission to slow down just a little at the beginning because slowing down here is actually what will save you a lot of time later. So before you pack your first box, you start by deciding and let packing be the easy part that comes after. If you're wishing you had someone to walk alongside you through this process and take all the guesswork out of it, that's exactly what I do inside my Decluttered Move course. So when you're ready, you can scan the code on your screen or click the link in the description to get started. I'll meet you there.